Welcome to the League of Legends Deathmatch. Take two champions, take away the meta, and pit them against each other in a duel to the death. I took it upon myself to research their lore, equipment, and abilities to see who would come out on top. No items, no summoner spells, no teams to back them up or hold them back. A 1v1 in the purest form, a deathmatch. Time seems to be very rigid to human beings, which is why we always fawn after any fictional attempt to control or manipulate it, because we can't stand not being in control, unless you're into that kind of thing. You freak. In the League of Legends universe, there are two champions who have dabbled in this very control, becoming the Time Lords of the Rift. Ekko, the boy who shattered time, and Zilean, the Chrono Keeper. Ekko was born with a genius-level intellect, building simple machines before he could even crawl. You, on the other hand, were just sitting there with a bunch of drool coming out of your mouth, giggling anytime you took a dump. His parents wanted him to use this intellect to join the Piltover academies and live a better life than their dead-end, soul-draining jobs in the factory they worked. You can learn more about this if you read his short story. It's actually really sad. The only thing that kept them going was knowing that Ekko was the only one with the way out of their cage of a life, so they kept working to make just enough money to pay rent and buy food. Kinda like my own life with my crippling college debt. I wish I were joking. Anywho, Ekko was the leader of a group of young Zonites who called themselves the Lost Children of Zon. Kind of like the Lost Boys from Peter Pan, except it wasn't gender exclusive. He befriended orphans, runaways, and any other kids who had a passion for anything and wanted more excitement in their lives. The only thing they really wanted was to do what they wanted, when they wanted. This sometimes included stealing from those who were better off, who were mostly the snobs of Piltover, or the Hextech augmented thugs that terrorized Zon. Though Ekko mainly wanted to build better and more complex machines that would help him change the world around him, rather than go to the Piltover academies and sell out to whoever wanted to use his intelligence for their own ends. This led to him stealing from Piltover scrapyards, looking to use what they couldn't use with just a little imagination and ingenuity. One of these escapades led him to discover many shards of a Hextech crystal, and after a lot of tinkering and tearing a hole in the time-space continuum, he constructed the Z-Drive, which is capable of manipulating short spans of time. Once he saved his friend's life using it and impressed all of his friends, word of his time-traveling escapades spread, because children don't know when to be seen and not heard. Even powerful people such as Victor and Jace wanted to meet the boy who shattered time, mostly to see if they could reverse engineer his Z-Drive. Victor for world domination, and Jace probably so he can bang your girlfriend, rewind time, and tell you all about it with details only you would know, yet have it never have happened. I know Jace is supposed to be a good guy, but as Bricky Orchid 8 once said,
probably is and has the biggest dick.
But Ekko is too independent to let anyone use his inventions for their own agenda. For the time being, he uses his ability to rewind time to steal more high-tech scrap and outwit groups of thugs on his own, hoping this ability to change the past will eventually let him change the future. Wow, that was cheesy. Almost as cheesy as Riot actually working the word Ekko into his own lore. I feel like Freak had something to do with that. Ekko wields his Z-Drive and a laser sword. Wait, what actually is that thing? Well, whatever it is, it seems to get the job done, and can cut as well as it bludgeons. It's also powered by temporal energy that comes from the Z-Drive. If he hits his target enough times with it, he is able to distort time to give himself a boost of speed. He is also armed with a temporal grenade, that was supposed to be a real grenade, except the first time he threw it, well, with grenades you only throw it once, so the fact that there was a first time travel hurts my head. Long story short, the Z-Drive made it work not as intended, so when he threw it, it came back, but not before creating a time distortion field in the middle of the explosion, slowing everything inside before imploding and returning to his hand unscathed. This next one is a doozy. He was able to split timelines and create an anomaly that, upon entering, detonates it without somehow making the universe explode, and is able to suspend his enemies in time. If there's anything I've learned from watching Doctor Who, that all sounds just like a big no-no when it comes to making sure the universe doesn't go bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, wait.
Boo-hoo.
He is also able to phase dive, which sounds a little less dangerous because it's only charging his Z-Drive in order to warp reality. Nope. Yeah, nope. That one sounds bad too. He rolls evasively before using his Z-Drive energy to teleport a short distance to his target. His bread and butter move is Chrono Break. This is how he gets out of so many bad situations. And while you have to wait a while to use this in the game, in real life he can use it almost indefinitely, so long as he can withstand the fatigue of fighting for that long. He shattered his timeline and... Wait, what? Nope. I give up. This kid is going to destroy the fabric of reality. Nope. I'm out of here. I'm gone. So, did you hear about the time traveler who enjoyed his dinner? He liked it so much he went back 4 seconds. Get it? Because that's what Ekko does when he ults. Okay. If you ignore the fact that he's most likely going to blow up the fabric of our very existence, he still has an incredible intellect, and his ability to turn back time and practice things that would normally take hours instantaneously have made him more formidable in combat. Also, his Z-Drive somehow becomes more stable as he uses it more often. Whether that's because of practice or the machine having a positive reaction to being used to mess with time, it gives Ekko an incredible ability to turn some of the worst circumstances into a win for the boy genius.
I found a blast! To the stars, goodbye candy bars, right to kid with a knack for invention.
He may be a punk-ass looking kid, but you do well not to underestimate him. Zilean's lore is pretty vague and short. Come on, Riot, you're releasing so many champions a year, but yet you can't even expand on the lore of the OG champions? Riot's neglection of updating lore aside, Zilean is a powerful sorcerer who resided in a once thriving city in the wastelands known as Urtistan. But while the Rune Wars were still prevalent, they started to near this great city Zilean knew as home. Wanting to ensure his people's survival and being obsessed with all things dealing with time, he began experimenting with powerful temporal magic that planted him in a state of perception that made him unaware of how time was actually passing outside the clock tower where he lived. And while he was stuck in his timey-wimey stuff, the city was sacked and demolished by a phalanx of dark knights of unknown affiliation. So nobody truly knows who destroyed his home, since they left his clock tower untouched to ensure that he wasn't aware of what was happening around him. This is both sad and a testament of how powerful Zilean is. I mean, a phalanx of knights, doesn't say how many, but enough to destroy a large city, were scared of one sorcerer waking up from a time stasis. But when Zilean finally did wake up, he discovered that he had also contracted a mystical disease called chronodysplasia. It gave him immortality, but also made so that his mind was never actually present in the moment he is currently residing, which kinda makes his title ironic since he can't even keep track of what time period he's in. He hopes to find a cure for this and eventually be able to save his people. But honestly, did he not learn the first time?
What will you learn? What will you learn? That your actions have consequences!
Zilean flies around on a magical clock and throws cogs at people. It's honestly one of the most ridiculous ways to fight, but hey, if Bjergsen can make it work, anything is possible. His passive is Time in a Bottle. He can impart his experience onto teammates. But here in the League of Legends deathmatch world, we don't cater to team reliance. Yo-ho. His main source of damage is a time bomb. Yep, real creative. He tosses magical bombs at people that explode after a few seconds and can latch onto their target. If he puts 2 bombs on top of each other, the first one explodes and stuns enemies, which they probably could have explained better, considering we have another champion that does pretty much the exact same thing, but my best guess is that it creates a temporal distortion that suspends people in time. He is also able to rewind, giving himself more time to prepare for a confrontation and allows him to throw more bombs or use Time Warp. He can bend time around a target at will, speeding up or slowing down the rate at which they move for 2.5 seconds. There's not really much to his abilities. He's a mage obsessed with time, so I guess there's only a few things you can do with it. Yeah. So, why'd Zilean throw a clock out the window? Because he wanted to see time fly. Finally, his ult is Chrono Shift. He places a protective time rune on himself or an ally, teleporting them back in time if they take lethal damage within 5 seconds. That's why you can't kill him the Zilean. But I stole that joke, and you should all flame me for it. But really, it does make him much harder to kill. Going through his moveset, it's hard to see why an army was afraid of a few bombs. That's all he can really do to take them out unless Riot decides to rework him. Sure, he can reset himself to toss multiple bombs everywhere. Well, I guess if he can do that, it actually wouldn't take much else, so never mind. He can also speed himself up as he does all of this so that he can't be killed easily. And if he is, he can just bring himself back and keep throwing bombs. Or cogs. Those silly little cogs. Hey, it's Zilean. Also, the only skin you should use is Groovy Zilean, or we can't be friends. Alright, now that you've met the champions participating in today's battle, who will win? It's time to find out.
Won this fight already. Doing it again for fun.
I've seen your death. It was painful.
Look out! Look out! Look out! Look out! Come get me! Don't blink! Surprise! Look out! Think fast! Come get me! Think fast! Step right up! Go! Look out! Won this fight already. Doing it again for fun.
This was a lot closer than I expected it to be, because Zilean is in fact a powerful sorcerer from the time when magic was powerful enough to cause entire civilizations to crumble. But his obsession with time left his power pretty limited in terms of combat. Also, his entire reasoning for going into his chrono coma was to find a peaceful way out, not to find out how to defeat his enemies. So in a fight, he's not quite the best option. He may have more control over time itself, but Ekko has been able to solidify his usage of the Z drive to match the wizard's time distortion blow for blow. And unlike Zilean, Ekko spends all the hours of moments he goes back in time trying to win the fights he is in, giving him more raw combat experience. And even though Zilean could follow every timeline that Ekko creates, his chronodysplasia would more than likely catch up to him and put his mind in a different timeline, creating an opening for Ekko to get in close, or even outside the battle completely, leaving him vulnerable and unable to remember that he needed to use his time runes to save himself, and being of a genius level intellect put Ekko on an even playing field in every other regard. The Time Bobs were good at keeping Ekko on his toes, but I guess when it comes down to it, you can Killian the Zilean. The winner is Ekko.